afternoon and thank you for joining us on FutureTV. I'm Linda Tamim and these are today's top stories. The toll in renewed fighting in Tripoli rises to 4 in clashes between the rival neighborhoods of Jabal Mohsen and Bab al-Tibani. Prime Minister Tamam Slam enters the Grand Sarai in an official ceremony a day after his 24-member government receives a vote of confidence. And Russian President Vladimir Putin signs into law the treaty formally making Crimea part of the Russian Federation as Ukraine caps a landmark alliance with the European Union. The toll in renewed fighting in the northern city of Tripoli has risen to 4. The deaths were the latest in a round of fighting between gunmen in the district of Bab al-Tibani and fighters in the Jabal Mohsen neighborhood. Sources say 2 people were killed in Bab al-Tibani and a 3rd in Jabal Mohsen overnight, as gunmen fired from both sides. The 4th died in Jabal Mohsen of wounds sustained 2 days earlier. Tensions between the 2 districts go back decades but have been exacerbated by the conflict in Syria, where President Bashar al-Assad is battling a rebel uprising. The latest clashes in Tripoli began last Thursday, and the most recent deaths bring the toll in just over a week to 21 and 151 injured. Prime Minister Tamam Slam has entered the Grand Sarai in an official ceremony a day after his 24-member government received a vote of confidence. Senior staff welcomed him at the government house in downtown Beirut. 96 MPs of the 128-member parliament backed Salam's government on Thursday after a 2-day debate on its policy statement. 4 lawmakers voted against it while the 5th abstained. Salam thanked the MPs for their valuable suggestions and said his cabinet shares their concerns. "We promise that we will put the legitimate demands on the track of implementation," Salam said in the speech that preceded the vote of confidence. Yet, the Prime Minister insisted no one should expect miracles, as the government will do everything it can to address the issues, and called for a strengthening of accord between the rival factions. He also promised to hold the presidential elections on time to prevent vacuum. The Syrian army has shot and killed 2 men on the outskirts of the Bekaa Valley border town of Anjar. Security sources say they were identified as Yasser Mohammed Yassin, who hails from Majd al-Anjar, and his cousin, whose father is Syrian. Residents of Majd al-Anjar pleaded with security forces to pull the men's bodies. At a shelter for displaced families in Homs, Syrian Arab Republic, UNICEF Executive Director Anthony Lake emphasizes the importance of recreation and education for children suffering from 3 years of conflict. And coming up next, Turkey restricts access to Twitter hours after the Prime Minister Tayyip Erdogan threatened to shut down the social media platform. That and more after the break. Welcome back. Russian President Vladimir Putin has signed into law the treaty formally making Crimea part of the Russian Federation after it was approved by the parliament on the same day Ukraine capped a landmark alliance with the European Union. All 155 senators present in Moscow's upper house voted in favor of the treaty, which was signed on Tuesday by President Vladimir Putin and representatives of the secessionist Ukrainian region. The treaty creates 2 new Russian administrative regions, Crimea and the port city of Sevastopol, where Russia's Black Sea Fleet is based. Despite threats of more sanctions from the EU and the United States, the Kremlin has declared that it considers Crimea part of Russia since the signing of the treaty. Meanwhile, in Brussels, Ukraine's acting Prime Minister Arseniy Yatsenyuk and the EU leaders signed a landmark agreement in defiance of Russia's wishes. The final deal, once signed, will cover issues as wide-ranging as economic integration, judicial reform, and consumer rights to environmental protection.
This gesture symbolizes the importance that both sides attach to this relationship and our joint will to take it further. It recognizes the aspirations of the people of Ukraine to live in a country governed by values, by democracy and the rule of law.
This is the historic day for my country, and we believe this is the historic day for the entire Europe. We want to be a part of big European family. And this is the first tremendous step in order to achieve for Ukraine its ultimate goal as a full-fledged membership. This deal covers most existential and most important issues, mainly security and defense cooperation. This deal will establish a joint decision-making body which is to facilitate the process of real reforms in my country. And this deal meets an aspirations of millions of Ukrainians that want to be a part of the European Union. It's essential for all of us to speak in one single voice in order not to give anyone, including Russia, to use energy as a new nuclear weapon.
2 rockets have struck a runway at the international airport in Libya's capital, Tripoli, forcing the suspension of flights. This is according to an airport source who says the blast took place at around 5 a.m. local time, at a time when the day's inbound and outbound traffic had yet to begin. Reports say an airline representative in the capital says the authorities had informed firms operating at the airport that flights will remain suspended until 10:30 GMT on Saturday. Since longtime dictator Muammar Gaddafi was deposed in 2011 and killed by rebels in October that year, the international airport has been under the control of former opposition fighters from Zintan, 170 kilometers southwest of Tripoli. Turkey has restricted access to Twitter hours after the Prime Minister Tayyip Erdogan threatened to shut down the social media platform after users published claims of corruption against him. Users reported on Friday that they were forwarded from Twitter.com a statement from Turkey's telecoms regulator, TIB, which cited court orders for the site's apparent closure. The statement cited 4 orders as the basis for blocking the site, where some users in recent weeks have posted voice recordings and documents purportedly showing evidence of corruption among Erdogan's inner circle. The state-run Anatolia news agency says authorities technically blocked access to Twitter because the service had ignored the orders to remove some links deemed illegal. At a shelter for displaced families in Homs, Syrian Arab Republic, UNICEF Executive Director Anthony Lake emphasizes the importance of recreation and education for children suffering from 3 years of conflict.
At a shelter for displaced families in the Syrian city of Homs, a few hours of fun and games provide children with a much-needed respite from the horrors of the Syrian conflict. While spending time at the shelter, UNICEF's Executive Director Anthony Lake emphasized the importance of such recreational and educational programs.
So many of them have suffered terrible traumas, seen things that no child should ever see, and if they don't get the education and if they don't overcome those traumas in places like this, where you can hear them the way children do, laugh even when they're suffering inside, if we don't overcome that, then the next generation of Syrian children, when they grow up to be adults, could well replicate the same problems that we're seeing now, the same divisions, the same hatreds.
This shelter was once a school and is in the middle of a heavily shelled neighborhood. The people of Homs have experienced near-constant violence and siege for almost 2 years now.
I just met with a little girl who said that she had kept a journal of her time there during this time of terrible hardship, and I asked her if she had kept the journal, and she said no, that she had destroyed it because she wanted to forget what had happened.
It is estimated that 1 million Syrian children are either living under siege or in areas of the country that are hard to reach because of intense violence. UNICEF is doing its utmost to provide relief.
We're trying to get more in the way of medical supplies, more in the way of food, etc. We're making some progress. We've been vaccinating over 2 million children every month for the past few months against polio. Little by little, I think we're making progress, but it's only little by little, so we'll keep working on it. I hope that the world comes to its senses and that all the diplomats will agree to find compromises and to try to put an end to this terrible, terrible catastrophe here in Syria.
And now for news around the world in brief, senior Afghan officials have been seriously wounded by a bomb in southern Kandahar province in an attack that injured at least 9 people The attack followed a blast targeting a luxury hotel in Kabul the previous evening, which claimed the lives of 9 people, including a journalist and his family, as well as a foreign election observer. Reporters on the ground say the dead include at least 3 women and 2 children. Thailand's constitutional court has declared as invalid the parliamentary elections held last February, throwing the country into a deeper political impasse. The court says the vote did not take place on the same day across the country and that violated a clause in the constitution. Reporters say judges voted 6-3. The search for missing Malaysia Airlines flight MH370 has resumed thousands of kilometers off the west coast of Australia. The first of 5 search planes flew out of the country to search one of the most remote places on Earth for objects that might be from the missing aircraft. Australian authorities confirm a Royal Australian Air Force Orion has left at dawn. China's government also said it was sending 3 warships to join the search. The first trailer for The Giver is here. It's full of stark, whitewashed interiors and wise people like Jeff Bridges and Meryl Streep giving guidance. The story belongs to Jonas, who's exposed to a world beyond his cleansed utopia when he's selected to receive the memories of the giver, the only citizen who still knows the pain that used to exist in society.
From great suffering, great pain, came a solution. Communities, where disorder became harmony.
The way things look and the way things are very different.
What do you think would happen if you skipped your morning injection?
I cannot prepare you for what's going to happen.
There's something missing from our lives. Something that has been stolen.
When people have the freedom to choose, they choose wrong.
This marks the end of our bulletin for today. Now for a reminder of our headlines. The toll in renewed fighting in Tripoli rises to 4 in clashes between the rival neighborhoods of Jabal Mohsen and Bab Tibeni. Prime Minister Tamam Slam enters the Grand Sarai in an official ceremony a day after his 24-member government receives a vote of confidence. And finally, Russian President Vladimir Putin signs into law the treaty formally making Crimea part of the Russian Federation as Ukraine caps a landmark alliance with the European Union. Those are your Friday headlines from us here at Future Television. I'm Linda Tamim, wishing you all a very nice evening.